Hip-hop emerged from the gritty streets of the Bronx back in 1973, when DJ Kool Herc started flipping records at local block parties, chopping and looping tracks to create the first ever hip-hop beats. These revolutionary parties birthed a new type of host, the Master of Ceremonies, or MC, whose job was more than just hyping the crowd. They delivered rhymes, shouted out their friends, and brought a fresh voice to the scene. Then came 1979, the landmark moment when hip-hop made its leap into the mainstream with Rapper's Delight. This Sugar Hill Gang track, crafted by New Jersey natives Mike Wright, Master G. O'Brien, and Big Bang Hank Jackson, soared up the charts, peaking at number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100. Hip-hop had officially entered the commercial arena. But alongside hip-hop's birth, something equally impactful emerged, the concept of the rap group. Suddenly, collective creativity became integral to hip-hop's DNA. Groups offered more than just multiple voices. They provided synergy, collaborative creativity, and a larger network that made it easier for members to rise together. There was strength in numbers. More artists meant more chances to strike gold, to build meaningful connections only found in collectives. From there, iconic groups dominated the hip-hop scene, defining entire eras of the genre. Think Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Mobb Deep, G-Unit, Run DMC, and NWA, each collective leaving its undeniable mark on music history. These crews didn't just launch careers, they crafted cultural shifts, bringing unique voices together to create some of the best music the genre had ever seen. Yet history also reveals an unavoidable truth. Rap groups rarely survive intact. Even the collectives that seem destined for eternal greatness eventually fracture, leaving behind brilliant but bittersweet legacies. Even wildly successful groups like Wu-Tang Clan and Outkast produce music greater than the sum of their parts. But this very creative spark can also ignite conflicts, ultimately pulling even the strongest groups apart. What causes these breakups? Is it ego battles, disputes over money, or creative clashes? Perhaps it's all of these and more. Today, we're unpacking the dramatic stories behind hip-hop's most legendary collectives, how they rose, why they fell apart, and where their members ended up. One of the most famous modern rap groups of the blog era of hip-hop that was active in the early 2010s was Odd Future. At 17, a young Tyler the Creator moved to Ladera Heights, a shift that marked a turning point in his creative journey. He launched a YouTube channel called Blockshead, where he posted vlogs, comedic skits, and behind-the-scenes moments of making music with his friends. These clips offered an early glimpse of the unfiltered creativity that Tyler and Odd Future would later become known for. Tyler spent a lot of time at the local skate park, where he connected with other misfits who shared his unconventional outlook. Another creative outlet came through a specialized arts program known as Hip Hop High at Hawthorne High School, where he attended. This initiative, part of the broader media arts partnership, gave students the opportunity to explore music and other creative pursuits they might not have otherwise had access to. Jacques Slade, now a prominent sneaker reviewer, was a music production teacher in the program and had high praise for Tyler. "Tyler is absolutely amazing," Slade said in a 2008 LA Times article. "He's like a little miniature Andre 3000. He's so creative right out of the box." Tyler's creative potential was obvious from the start. Even then, he was not just focused on music. He envisioned a career that blended multiple forms of artistry. One of his earliest projects was a magazine called Odd Future, intended to be a cultural publication covering skateboarding, fashion, and music. In the same LA Times article, Tyler is described as a resplendent, psychedelic vision of street fashion gone haywire, sitting in class in a bright green baseball cap and polka-dotted sweatshirt, listening to his iPod while designing the magazine on a computer. It was during this period that Tyler began forming the collective that would redefine the underground music scene. He connected online with Sydney Bennett, now known as Sid, who had built a bedroom studio after learning how to use GarageBand. Sid's brother, Taco, soon joined, and through Sid, Tyler met Frank Ocean. Together, they formed Odd Future Wolfgang Kill Them All, a creative collective that would soon take the internet by storm. Odd Future quickly became a creative powerhouse, releasing their first mixtape, The Odd Future Tape, in 2008. They combined raw, minimalistic production with shocking visuals and lyrics, creating a polarizing yet wildly successful brand. Alongside their music, they launched a clothing line and gained momentum through live performances that attracted a growing cult following. In 2012, they partnered with Jackass Productions to create the Adult Swim series Loiter Squad, a blend of comedic skits that quickly became a viral part of pop culture. The show ran until 2014, solidifying Odd Future's reputation as cultural disruptors. Along the way, they had numerous viral moments that earned them a dedicated cult following, including their notorious BBC interview. Despite criticism for their controversial style, their releases continued to resonate globally. Tyler later explained the motivation behind Odd Future's provocative public image. Tyler the Creator clearly surrounded himself with the right group of creatives early on. Odd Future launched the careers of generational talents like Frank Ocean, Sid, Jasper, and Earl Sweatshirt. Behind the viral moments and breakout solo success, cracks began to form. The group quietly dissolved in 2015, signaled by a series of tweets from the group. On May 27, 2015, Tyler tweeted, "Although it's no more, those 7 letters are forever." Tyler was referring to the acronym of the group's full name, Odd Future Wolf Gang Kill Them All, OFWGKTA. The tweet followed his emotional reflection while going through old photos of the group. He realized that each member had begun focusing on their independent creative journeys. Earl Sweatshirt also chimed in, stating, "No sympathy for male virgins who are in their feelings about Tyler pointing out and solidifying the obvious." The group was clearly finished, but the real question was why. Depending on which member you ask, you will get a different answer. However, one recurring theme is internal conflict. Many speculate that tension between Tyler and Haji Beats was a key reason for the breakup. In 2015, following those tweets, Tyler said something on stage at Camp Flog Gnaw that fans interpreted as a diss toward Haji.
Niggas got me fucked up. I put too many niggas on. I helped too many of my motherfucking friends out. And niggas gonna come foul? And you know who the fuck I'm talking about, nigga. And yes, it's getting real. I love you though.
Haji later responded on Instagram, further confirming the tension between them, saying, "At Mackay Official, people treat us like we're disposable. Haji Doms left Mike G. Where'd Earl go? I know he had no part in the carnival. Real recognized real. Gone. Call me jealous, just don't call my phone. Tyler is a fraud. He turned his back on people that never crossed him, and I'm not just speaking for myself only. So enjoy the emotion you feel towards Haji. He gon' keep it pushing. If you really don't mess with him, then don't still try to get a buck off him. This is a business. Remember that all you see is only brought to your eyes. I know everything that goes on. And I respect him enough not to blast that. Just know a young brother changing faces." At the time, Tyler had just released Cherry Bomb and was clearly the group's most commercially successful member. That disparity may have created friction. Tyler's ego might have contributed to the rift with Haji. Haji later addressed this incident in an interview, expressing regret over what he had to say. Alternatively, another explanation comes from founding member Sid. In a Reddit Ask Me Anything, someone asked her about the Odd Future breakup. She explained that the conflict started during their touring days, when the members really got to know each other. That led to internal tension. She also cited homophobia within the group as a divisive factor. Sid noted that touring was what created the divide within the group, stating most of us never had money and had never been on tour, and it was a lot to take in. Additionally, Sid noted that her departure from the group before the breakup was not particularly amicable, citing homophobia within the group and how she was used as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Sid would later start her own group, The Internet, in 2011. She focused on building a healthier creative space, even stating that what people thought OF was is what the internet actually is. Another contributing factor was that 2015 was a breakout year for the collective's most prominent members. Tyler released his experimental and divisive album Cherry Bomb. Earl Sweatshirt dropped his introspective second project, I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside. Just weeks earlier, Frank Ocean was prepping his long-awaited album Boys Don't Cry, which would solidify him as a global star. Odd Future never had an official ending. It simply faded away, apart and no longer aligned on values or direction. Tyler, Frank, and Earl each carved out their own path, and the need for the collective vanished. Still, one cannot help but wonder, if Odd Future had continued, a track featuring a mature Tyler, Frank, Earl, and Sid would be one of the most coveted collaborations in modern hip-hop. If there was ever a rap group that felt destined to drop a classic, it was Black Hippy. With Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, Ab Soul, and J-Rock, they had the perfect blend of styles. TDE fans waited years for a full-length project, but it never came. The group began with Schoolboy Q's idea to create a rap collective that would help him improve as an MC. He stated in a Fader interview, "Black Hippy was actually my idea because I was slacking in my music," adds Q. "I figured if I could be in a group, I could just write one verse and I could be good." The group's talent could be described as the modern-day version of NWA, comprised of the best lyrical and conscious rappers of the time. Even better, they were all signed to Top Dog Entertainment, making collaboration seamless. All four were incredibly talented, and together they dropped a total of 4 official songs available on streaming, along with a handful of guest appearances on various projects. Their most popular song, UOENO, is a solid mainstream hit. However, the deeper cut Fair Fight showcases their chemistry. On this track, it is evident that egos are in play, as each member tries to out-rap the other. They pass the microphone like a baton, and you can feel the competitive energy coursing through the track. The group confirmed this internal rivalry in another interview. Each member of the group was an XXL freshman, and each believed he had the potential to be the top MC. Additionally, being signed to Top Dog Entertainment was like being recruited to the best sports team in the league. This further inflated everyone's pride and desire to prove themselves. Kendrick talked about the ego's role in the group's dynamic. Sometimes they turn up for just a few bars before passing the mic off, but they're always there, comfortable enough to know when to jump on a record and wise enough to know when to back off. One thing about it, when you in a group, you gotta put your ego aside, says Lamar. Egos kill, not only you, but everybody around you. Here, Kendrick acknowledges that egos, his included, were deadly to the group's dynamic. This would ultimately foreshadow Black Hippy's eventual demise. The friendly competition eventually became serious, and Black Hippy officially disbanded in 2022. Kendrick Lamar had outgrown the group and was clearly the most successful among them. Section 80 put him on the map, T-Pad became a modern masterpiece, and Damn earned him a Pulitzer Prize. All signs pointed to Kendrick thriving on his own. Nonetheless, Ab-Soul, J-Rock, and Schoolboy Q each built solid solo careers, despite Black Hippy not working out. Kendrick went on to launch PG Lang with longtime friend Dave Free and began developing his nephew into the rising star Baby Keem. TDE President Punch confirmed the group's disbandment in 2022, when Kendrick officially left TDE amicably. We definitely wanted to do a Black Hippy album, but it was such a learning experience for us. Everything was new. The timing never really panned out. When one guy would be recording his album, another guy would be on tour. Everybody was never in the same time frame, so we didn't want to hold back. We wanted to keep going and just push further into their individual careers. In hindsight, I wish I would have pushed the Black Hippy album more. That was always my goal, personally. You would have to ask everybody individually to see if that's what their goal was. Kendrick later confirmed that he was the reason the group did not work on his 2024 album GNX in the song The Heart Part 6. Now it's about Kendrick. I want to evolve, place my skill set as a Black exec. I jogged my memory, knowing Black Hippy didn't work because of me. Creatively, I moved on with new concepts in reach. Here, Kendrick acknowledges how his ego to prove himself exceeded his desire to push the group forward, and how his artistic evolution is why the group fell apart. Black Hippy was one of the greatest rap groups that never truly took off, derailed by the very competitive nature that defined them. In hindsight, perhaps the group was never meant to survive. Kendrick had bigger plans. His creative ambition stretched beyond what Black Hippy could offer, and rather than forcing a group project, he prioritized solo dominance. Schoolboy Q also confirmed in a recent interview that the group is officially over and will not return. He spoke about wanting to build his own legacy, not one rooted in Kendrick's success. This reveals not only his dedication as an artist, but also the competitive spirit that lives in each member. Splur Gang was a rap group consisting of Playboi Carti, Uno the Activist, and Thousand Van Fawny. They were active for just over a year, from 2015 to 2016, forming right at the peak of the SoundCloud boom that would birth the mumble rap movement alongside figures like Lil Yachty, Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Pump, and many other new generation rappers. Carti and Uno were especially close. They were genuinely good friends. Their bond went back so far that Uno even appeared in Carti's very first music video for a song titled Cry. The group dropped numerous SoundCloud classics during their brief run. These included What, a collaboration between Carti and Uno released on A$AP Rocky's YouTube channel, and Splur Gang, which featured all three rappers. Another standout, V-Lone Thug, was a nod to the streetwear brand once owned by A$AP Bari, who has since stepped down due to controversy. By this point, Carti was beginning to gain real momentum. Stylist and creative director Ian Connor introduced him to A$AP Rocky, who quickly took Carti under his wing. As a result, Splur Gang became closely affiliated with A$AP Mob. Bloody Dior, another creative connected to A$AP Mob, was also part of this wider clique. However, things began to fall apart after an alleged altercation over a girl happening between Uno and Bloody Dior. Bloody Dior reportedly shot Uno, and Thousand Van Fawny cut ties with A$AP Mob and anyone associated with them and stood with his friend. Despite the fallout, Playboi Carti continued associating with Bloody Dior, Ian Connor, and A$AP Mob. These were valuable friendships that offered him a path to break into the mainstream music industry, and ultimately, that path proved life-changing. Carti essentially abandoned his friends in pursuit of the opportunity to launch a solo career. Fawny later found himself beefing with Lil Yachty after an altercation that led to Yachty having Fawny's chain stolen, which he then posted online. Not long after, Carti was spotted hanging out with Yachty, and the two would go on to become best friends and were frequently seen together. This moment once again confirmed why Splur Gang fell apart. Carti was focused on progressing his own career through high-profile connections, even if that meant distancing himself from his original crew. These moves made it clear, Splur Gang was officially over, and it ended because Carti prioritized his individual rise, choosing not to jeopardize the industry relationships that would ultimately define his success. Regardless, they left behind numerous classic songs that defined a huge turning point in hip-hop. Members Only was a South Florida-based rap collective that began in 2015, when Ski Mask the Slump God and XXXTentacion met one another in jail. After they connected, their musical chemistry was undeniable, and it quickly made both of them wildly successful. From that moment onward, Members Only evolved into a highly influential group with a rotating roster of artists. These included Bass Santana, Flyboy Tarantino, Dirty Face Smook, Louis Savage, Kid Trunks, Kilo Jr., Fuck It, Vinny Chango, SB, Wi-Fi's Funeral, Dylan's Vision, DJ Scheme, and Rai Bundy. Though the group was only active for 3 full years, they released 4 complete projects, Members Only Volumes 1 through 4, before their eventual collapse. These tapes helped define a new style of rap. Raw, abrasive, and unapologetically chaotic, their sound was shocking, unmixed, bass-heavy, and scream-centered. The track Goddamn perfectly captures the Members Only aesthetic, rumbling bass that distorts your headphones, repetitive flows, and an ominous, almost evil tone. This rawness built a cult-like following that few collectives could replicate. However, the downfall of the group began with the tragic death of XXXTentacion on June 18, 2018. X was brutally murdered while leaving a motorcycle dealership. He was shot and robbed. The culprits were identified and later sentenced to life in prison. X's death shook the entire hip-hop world, but for Members Only, it was catastrophic. As the group's founder and creative center, X's absence left a leadership vacuum that quickly turned into disarray. The first signs of internal fractures surfaced when Flyboy Tarantino publicly pressed Ski Mask the Slump God for leaving him off his album Stokely, particularly from the track So High. At the time, Ski Mask was the most successful member after X, and the group was already splintering. In response, Ski went on Instagram Live to air his frustrations and grievances.
Y'all let that nigga in Members Only, and y'all let that nigga try to fucking extort me or try to do some weird shit, my nigga. And I ain't on that type of time, my nigga. And y'all know that, bro. Bro, come on now, bro. I ain't nothing but a good friend, bro. We have 7 songs together, my nigga. 7 songs. And you mad because I put up 1 song that I took you off on my album and said I'm hurting your pockets. I'm hurting your pockets after I did 7 songs with you for free.
Ski mentioned that Flyboy accused him of cheating him out of money and publicity. Stokely had major hype around it, and Flyboy felt that being left off the track was a missed opportunity. The dispute got so intense that the two even argued on Instagram Live for the world to see. These public disputes made it clear the group was falling apart, and while there was never an official breakup, Members Only quietly fractured and faded away. Former members like Wi-Fi's Funeral, Kid Trunks, Flyboy Tarantino, and Bass Santana attempted solo careers, but none matched the collective success they had when X was alive. In the end, it was X who held the group together. His vision, star power, and presence were the glue. After his death, the group lost its cohesion, and the chaos that followed made it impossible for them to recover. CRS was a rap group composed of 3 all-stars, Pharrell Williams, Kanye West, and Lupe Fiasco. The group first came together when Lupe was experimenting with rapping over Radiohead beats. The first track they made was Us Placers, which laid the foundation for what CRS would become. After shooting the music video, the group officially formed during a studio session with Pharrell, Lupe, and Kanye. In that moment, Pharrell described the dynamic of the trio. Lupe was the child, Kanye the rebel, and Pharrell the soldier. From there, they released a few more tracks, including Don't Stop and a remix of Everybody Knows. This was the era right after the dominance of gangster rap, and CRS's music leaned heavily into experimentation, so it quickly amassed a huge fandom. The combined genius of Pharrell, Kanye, and Lupe offered limitless potential. Had they stayed together, CRS could have become one of the greatest rap groups ever assembled. Unfortunately, the group was extremely short-lived. After releasing only a few songs, Lupe later explained that the group fell apart because both Kanye and Pharrell became extremely wealthy and began pursuing other ventures. Like being in a rap group during high school, once you get signed, the group naturally becomes less of a priority and more of a memory. Still, Lupe believed that the fans were the true driving force behind CRS. He even floated the idea of turning CRS into a broader collective, one that could include new blood like Tyler the Creator. However, Tyler was already deeply invested in his own collective and creative projects, so the idea never materialized. Eventually, Lupe returned to rapping over Radiohead samples and began putting out music independently, without Pharrell or Kanye. But this decision led to a cease and desist from Radiohead, and that officially marked the end of Child Rebel Soldier. When you break down these stories, the reasons for their downfalls feel inevitable. Odd Future crumbled under internal tension and creative divergence. Black Hippy never even got the chance because individual success took priority. Members Only was derailed by tragedy. Splur Gang fell apart due to betrayal and shifting alliances. The paradox of rap collectives is simple. The very thing that makes them powerful, the unique chemistry of different voices, also makes them unstable. More members means more egos, more disagreements, and more opportunities for things to go south. Another undeniable truth, rap groups rarely break up on equal terms. One artist almost always emerges as the leader, the star who outgrows the collective. Tyler the Creator with Odd Future, Kendrick Lamar with Black Hippy, Playboi Carti with Splur Gang. Sometimes, a group can survive past one member's dominance, but often, once a leader outgrows the crew, the group collapses. This begs the question, is there a curse to rap groups that dooms them to fail?